Hey guys, it's me, Jake from JakeMan21642, and today I've got a pretty long overdue update for you guys. This is my 2015 Mercedes-Benz E400 Cabriolet. I have had this car for going on 3.5 years now, even though it does not feel like it. Like I said, I know an update video has been well overdue, but that's also kind of been because there's not much to report with this car. I'm happy to say, and I know I've said it about a lot of cars that I've owned, but this has been the best car I've ever owned. You know, yes, it is a Mercedes, it is a luxury vehicle, but I think the biggest luxury about this car to me is it's something I can just hop in, it always works, and I honestly never have to think about it. So like I said, I bought this car in April of 2021, so had it close to 4 years now, going on about 3.5. In that time, a lot has happened with it. Nothing, honestly, has really been the car's fault or anything outside of normal wear and tear. So I figured I would just do a walk around, kind of go over everything. I know a few things have changed since the last video, but honestly, not that much. Outside, as you can see, this one is finished off in the polar white exterior, which is just the base white for Mercedes, but it still looks great on the car. Again, I know I've said it before. Not a huge fan of white, definitely not the color I would have ordered if I was speccing this brand new. I definitely kind of ended up with it, and as you can see by how easy this car gets dirty, I literally just ran it through a car wash probably 2 days ago. I do park outside, but I've probably only driven 30, 40 miles since then, and you can see it's already filthy. This is still really tough paint. It's holding up really well. It's definitely taken some rock chips on the front, but it isn't nearly as beat up as anything else I've owned with these miles. Probably one of the biggest changes outside is this one did get a new set of tires. These were actually kind of an emergency purchase. I was road tripping to Detroit, and the Pirellis that were on it, they were okay. If I stayed in Virginia, I probably could have gotten through the rest of the season with them. But like an idiot, I decided to drive to Detroit in February in a rear-wheel drive Mercedes Convertible. So long story short, ended up while I was there deciding it would be safest to probably get new tires before I went home. To make things even worse, it was on a weekend, which Michigan seems a lot like Virginia, where nothing is open on Sunday. So I basically had Saturday to find tires, and finding a staggered setup in Michigan in the middle of winter, kind of a hard thing to do. So long story short, I ended up with the Continental Control contacts, and I have to say, normally I haven't been a fan of Continental tires, but these have been fantastic. They feel way better than the Pirellis did on this car. It still handles great, it still has nice sharp steering, but it brought back a little bit of that lightness and that luxury car float, which is honestly what I want. I mean, it's an E-Class. But very happy with these so far. These are the DWS series as well. So I really want to see how these do in the snow. I mean, I know these rear-wheel drive Benzes are not good, but be interesting to see. This car does have a staggered setup since it's rear-wheel drive, so it seems like a set of tires lasts about 25,000 miles on this car. This is the third set of tires it's had in my ownership. Got it with a set of Michelins that were pretty dry rotted and torn up. Replaced those with the Pirellis, which were also not my first choice. Just again, staggered setup when you're not planning on buying tires makes it a little difficult. And then ended up with these, which I definitely say I've been the happiest with so far. When I worked at Volvo, a lot of their cars were coming from the factory with Continental tires, and I was not impressed with them at all, but these definitely are good ones. Did get the windows tinted literally the day I bought it. So it has 20% on the front windows, and then all the way around on the back, 5%. Same setup as all of my other cars. Other things that have happened, I'll go back and see if I even have pictures. I did have a tree branch fall on it in my driveway, so it ended up getting some PDR work around right here. I mean, my guy did an amazing job. I can't even tell where the dents were anymore. And then this taillight has been replaced. The car got brakes right before I bought it, so they're still holding up fantastic. Thankfully, too, because they're not cheap on this car. Up front, this does just have the base LED headlights. I'm more than happy with those. And then, as I mentioned before, I did swap out the diamond style front grille. Added that to kind of update the styling a little bit, as well as this one does have the light up Mercedes badge. I did leave the front plate on this car. It has definitely done me well. It has taken quite a few hits, which, as much as I'm not a fan of the way it looks, it again is saving the front bumper. This is a city car. At first when I got it, I really cared and tried not to street park it, but I'm kind of at the point where it's a car. I'm going to use it, I'm going to enjoy it, and things are going to happen to it. With all that being said, let's go ahead, get inside, and start this one up. It's a little chilly, and we'll get out of the wind as well. So inside, you can see everything is holding up great. I have to say, when I got this car, I was terrified of it. It really did feel fragile compared to my Volvo. But again, at this point, I use it. Things happen. This car went to Princeton, New Jersey and Philly last weekend, so it definitely does not have it easy, and it has been holding up great. Mercedes changes their interior colors so much, they're honestly hard to remember, but I believe this is called the natural beige interior. And this is what sold me on the car, especially the two-tone on the door panel. This is what made me get over the white, because it's just such a pretty color combo. Did add these WeatherTech floor mats though, and as I've said before, they're my second and last set of WeatherTechs. I'm not impressed at all. I don't care about them. They scuff up so easily. They're just dirt magnets. This one does not stay clipped down either. I mean, I think if you have a Ford Explorer, WeatherTechs are great for it. Definitely found for the Euro cars. They're not exactly it. Foot on the brake and just press. You can see, you can tell this thing was on I-95 last weekend. It's yelling at me for washer fluid at the moment. But Advanced Auto is my next stop after this video, so that'll be easily taken care of. So inside the car, you can see everything is about the same as it has been, like I said. I've definitely had enough seat time with this car. I think I can give a fair viewpoint on how the ownership has been, and I have to say, it's been fantastic, you know. I feel at home in this car. It's luxurious, but it's not overwhelming. This is about as techy as it gets. This old NTG system, I mean, it's still up to date. It still does everything I need it to do. I do want to add Apple CarPlay to this, which if anyone watching this has any recommendations, let me know, because a lot of the kits out there look pretty sketchy. But like I said, everything's held up great. Nothing inside is broken. This car, I'm almost at 62,000 miles. Like I said, drove it up to Princeton and then down to Philly, spent last weekend there. So this car ended up doing about 600 miles round trip and handled it like a champ. Also got 28 miles per gallon with me barely using cruise control and maintaining some pretty good speeds too. But this thing on road trips, it's solid, it's comfortable, it's quiet. I always obsess over it in the videos, but this Harman Kardon audio, that and this interior is what sold me on this car. I'll get back to it in a minute, but this audio system on road trips is amazing. But these seats, they're so comfortable. They're definitely a little more firm than my Volvo. You do have these controls in the center to adjust them. I'm pretty big, so I leave most of the adjustments, especially the bolsters, out all the way, but the lumbar is fantastic. Road trips, I usually just end up reclined back with the steering wheel in my lap on this car. It is so nice. I've never had a car where I can do 11, 12-hour drives in straight shots like this one can. And also, too, even with the soft top, I mean, you really forget about it, especially, there's top rattle, there's a little bit of shake, especially if it's under like 40 degrees outside, it gets a little creaky. I usually have the stereo loud enough that it doesn't matter, but you honestly forget about it on road trips. It's very, very nice. As I've said, though, everything inside's about the same. Door panel materials holding up great, not warping or anything like that. I think the tint has definitely saved a lot of these interior plastics. Wood grain as well, not fading, which is a class action lawsuit on this platform. But again, I think thanks to the tint and then me being OCD about keeping a sunshade up even in the winter when I'm not driving this car, has really saved that. Otherwise, leather padded on the armrest, on the door, all four of your automatic windows, your child lock, as well as your power mirrors. And then you do have the switch in the middle, which will operate all four windows at once. And that's one thing I love too. Even with the top up, driving with the windows down is such a cool pillarless coupe experience in this car. Even on the coupes, they have that, and it makes them so fun to drive. But with the windows up, you are completely sealed up in this car. I've driven this thing through the winter plenty of times, and especially with the heated seats as well as air scarf, it's very, very nice. This is something you could have as your only car year-round. But over here, you have your headlight controls, automatic, as well as your rain-sensing wipers. Dashboard, I mean, I don't have to explain everything in here. They're Mercedes plastics, and especially too, this is before the inside of their cars were Creek City. Everything is actually put together very tight. Gauges in the middle, fuel gauge. You actually have an engine temperature gauge in this. Here's your center display, which I've shown before. You can bring up all kinds of different settings, things like that on there. A lot of your driver assistance can also be controlled through there. Just one thing I like, this is fairly basic when it comes to driving aids, which I'll be honest are nice, but I find them rather intrusive most of the time. This has blind spot monitoring, it's got a backup camera, and then I do have the auto braking as well, but it's very, very non-invasive. It waits until you get close to something to brake. It's not like my Volvo, which you could set off just by whipping into a parking space a little too fast. This is very, very good. I honestly forget the car has it. Tachometer right there. I just love a good, simple, real gauge cluster. In the middle, like I said, this is the NTG, I believe, 4.5 system. So it's a little updated. It's not the newest system this platform came with. Of course, if this was a year newer, it would have CarPlay, but 15 did not. I'm still happy. It has everything I need. Satellite radio, which it stays on most of the time. Bluetooth audio streaming, of course. And then one of my favorites, which I know this is such a boomer feature, but I do still have the CD player, which, as you can see on South Street in Philly last weekend, picked up some dollar CDs for the drive home. It's old school. It's really nice to have. Another one of my favorite things along with the CD player is this car actually does have what Mercedes calls a music register, which you can burn CDs onto, I think it's a 250 or 500 gig hard drive in there. So I've actually got a bunch of music loaded up on here. Awesome for road trips. You can just burn them onto the hard drive. And I picked up a bunch of stuff from like dollar CD bins at record stores. And especially when you're road tripping through somewhere like upstate New York, Vermont, cell phone service isn't that great. You're tired of satellite radio. You can just pop on a CD and let it go. But like I said, satellite radio, Bluetooth audio streaming. This does have nav as well, but has not been updated in a while. I haven't used it, and it wasn't that great the few times I used it, but nice to have. You can see I've got the MagSafe mount right there. Google Maps through my phone, and it's better than any of that. Below there, heated seats, air scarf. This button, press it, will extend your seatbelt out to you, which I don't realize how spoiled I am by this until I get in a Mustang or a Camaro at work, and it's an absolute shoulder breaker trying to get the seatbelt. Down below, your climate controls, dual zone, automatic. You might be able to hear in the background the blower motor in this. When it's under 60 or so degrees outside, it gets a little squeaky, and it's already been replaced once before I had it. That's just a common Mercedes thing of this era. Usually I've got the radio loud enough that I don't even notice, but I need to get under there, and literally just a drop of oil will fix that. I've just been lazy. But like I said, dual zone, automatic climate control. Cup holders right here, which I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I know this is such a first world problem complaining about the cup holders in my Mercedes, but these are some of the worst cup holders I've ever had in a car. And this is coming from someone who has owned 90s Hondas and even a 90s Subaru that had the cup holders that pop out above the radio. If it's honestly anything other than like a water bottle or a very small Coke or Red Bull can, it's going to tip over in these. They're shallow. These don't do anything, honestly. And yeah, it's just habit to me. If I have a tall drink or a coffee or something and I'm merging or moving, kind of rest my hand on it and keep it there. I'm convinced too all of these buttons are waterproof by the amount of times they've gotten soaked, because they still work fine. But yeah, if you have one of these, be careful with the cup holders, especially Red Bull, energy drink cans, things like that. And then medium and large fast food cups, they will tip over immediately in these. And it's weird too, because the sedans, they have basically the same console, but way better cup holders that are also further back where they won't soak things. So just something to be aware of. Back here, you have this piano black piece, which thankfully is the one piece of piano black in this interior, because these never age well. But there are your command controls there, and then your sport, manual, and then economy, which is kind of your everyday mode in this car. This button will raise and lower the rear headrests. It's nice though, when the occupancy sensor senses someone back there or you buckle the seatbelt, they will go up automatically. Auto dimming review mirror up top, all of your lighting controls there. Visors with vanity mirrors, which are illuminated. You can see I just put that in here. I was at a German car event in DC, so I thought that was fitting. But otherwise, yeah, like I said, I'm happy with this car. This thing on road trips, it's like nothing else. And it's kind of nice at this point too, having this and having the 4Runner, having two newer usable cars, which is not something I'm still used to. But the 4Runner kind of ends up being my commuter. I can run back and forth to work. My commute's short enough I can get away with the gas mileage. Especially I live in a city where you can get across town in 20 minutes. So it's nice. I've actually been driving the 4Runner a lot more, and I've been able to keep this as like the special weekend road trip car, things like that. Still end up driving it back and forth for work a lot though. It's just, you wouldn't expect it. It's a very easygoing, drama-free car. Yeah, the two doors can kind of be a pain in the ass, but I'm also 6'3", and not a small person. I'll show on the other side, but I can fit in the back seat on this. It's also nice too having the two-door, because if you don't want to drive people around, you don't have to. Inside the trunk, you can see it's still got some road trip remnants. You can see I'm still a little afraid of a German car. I do travel with tools with me, but I feel like that's just always a good idea when you're doing 600 miles in a weekend. Didn't have to touch them either, but you can see the trunk, pretty usable for what it is. And then if you want to put the divider up, the back seats don't fold, but you get a decent amount of room. You can see I have an IKEA bag full of crap that fits under the partition as well. Guess I will go ahead and show the top operation before the video ends too. And I apologize. As usual, every time I do a video, we've got company in the background. And I mean, this car too, just classic Mercedes with the door open and close feel, and the sound they make. Everything on this side follows through. Again, with just why I hate a white car. Dirt finds its way into every crevice. But I'll get in the back seat and actually show you guys. See my sunshade right there. But it's usable, especially with the top down. But even with the top up, I'm 6'2". It's not the best place to be, but I can fit, and you can see the seat will move back and touch your knees and then stop at a position. This could come back more. I stopped it a little early, but you have vents, you have a power outlet, which you can see. I use my phone charger up front on there. And of course, it wouldn't be a German car if you didn't have an ashtray for the rear passengers. Power window controls as well. And you can see, I mean, the wood grain, the leather, all the soft materials follow through back here. I love these speakers as well, because they're almost right at ear level with the front seat. But yeah, it's not the worst place in the world to be. As someone that rode from Virginia to Florida in the back of a Mustang, it's definitely a lot better than that. And I apologize, the car is not immaculate, sparkling clean inside and out, but kind of figured I'd show the condition it's usually in. We'll go ahead and put the top down too. Let's lift up right there. Windows will go down. Takes it a second. But the top will retract on its compartment. And it is awesome. You can do that up to 30 miles an hour as well. And it's nice too, having the windows tinted, because at night you can roll with the top down, put the windows up, and have like your own little privacy dome. I know a lot of people aren't fans of convertibles with tint for that reason, but I love it. Right here as well, press this. That will bring up your air cap, as well as it will raise up the deflector in the rear. I'll give you some exterior shots with the top down. I forget the hood's popped. But yeah, even though it's this car is almost 10 years old, and this is a 12, probably almost 15-year-old design, I think this car is still gorgeous with the top down. I love you do have two 10-inch subwoofers up top, which kick on when the top comes down. You can see right here, it does kind of become a dirt magnet, which I need to clean that off. Usually when you wash it, it will blast dirt up inside of that seam. But still, just such a timeless design. This is definitely one I'm holding on to for a while. And up front, LED daytime running lights. And then under the hood, you have to open the hood so infrequently I don't even remember where it is. One thing I love too, you do get service mode on the hood, where it will open all the way up. But under here is Mercedes 3-liter twin-turbo V6. And I have zero complaints about this engine. It runs fantastic. It is a joy to drive. This is a detuned AMG engine as well, so I really don't feel like I'm beating on it, and it's got more than enough power, especially more than enough torque for what I need. Under here, all that's been replaced is this car did get a new thermostat about 2 years ago. Actually had that done at my specialist, and that was one of the last things on this car I didn't do myself, because it's kind of gotten to that point where I just do the oil changes, any other general maintenance it needs myself. Very easy once you get the cover off. Filter's right there, drain plug is underneath the car. Just got to drop some plastic and it's super easy. Last year, this car did get a new battery underneath of here. And then I have replaced the auxiliary battery in the trunk myself. I will say, if you have one of these and it starts showing signs of battery failure, replace it as soon as possible. This car will go from slowly starting once to stranding you so fast without any warning, so just get that done. Auxiliary battery gives you plenty of warning, but if you ignore that one for long enough, the car can get stuck in park. Replacing both of those two did wake the auto start-stop system up. I know I've mentioned before in my videos that I thought it was either detuned or just broken. Turns out I've probably been driving on a bad battery most of the time I've had this. This car had a 9-year-old battery. It was original. So that's one thing, now that I get in the car every time, have to hit the eco button and cut that off. It is muscle memory already. But otherwise, no complaints. How could I have complaints about something like this? It's been a fantastic car. One thing I didn't touch on either, does have the 7-speed automatic. Did do the transmission service right at 50,000 miles. So that's shifting beautiful, no problems there. Did the diff service at the same time too. That was cool. I was actually working at a shop at the time, so I got to be pretty hands-on with that job. But otherwise, not much else to say about this car. It's definitely one I'm keeping in the long run. And it's amazing too. I've spent less money on this than I have on my Toyota 4Runner in the last year, so these are getting affordable, especially the sedans and the regular coupes. If this is a car you're interested in, I would not be afraid to buy one. Again, I have no regrets, and this is not going anywhere soon. So, any questions, comments, anything like that, drop them down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and subscribe for more.